You could start.
No, you start, Ant. It's your show.
My show. Well, I want to welcome everybody to Reformed Gangsters. I'm on with my good friend Tommy Flash. We're going to talk about some mob stuff from back in the day. I hope everybody enjoys the session. So, Tommy, what do you want to talk about today? You want to talk about what we both experienced together back in 1988?
Well, you know what? I think the last time we got together, and everyone's got to forgive me, I was just so excited to see you. Maybe we didn't elaborate. So, and I guess the title was Honor Hit.
Right.
Maybe we should explain that. We were talking about one in particular murder. So why don't you tell them which murder that was, which I know you touched on, but let's refresh everyone's memory. And then we'll explain what that honor hit really means and the intricacies behind it.
Well, the honor hit that we're talking about is, of course, on my brother-in-law who attacked my mother after a baby shower, and we got the murder sanctioned, and we went on and proceeded to commit it.
Okay, so everyone has an idea. Now, there's been references to this in movies and stuff, with most notably The Godfather, the opening scene at his daughter's wedding. And I believe it was the Undertaker comes in to ask for a favor. And I guess his daughter was attacked, and basically asks Don Corleone to murder them. And he says, I want justice. He says, that's not justice. Your daughter's still alive. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing here. I mean, listen to me. Anthony's comes from a different position than I do. I'm just basically, I do what I told. Anthony was at another level for me. That was his family. He was privy to things that I wasn't. Right. Also, it's his mother, so it's a different viewpoint. But from a pragmatic point of view, you know, John Gotti, you know, people, as history goes on, people change history. Everyone all of a sudden knows John Gotti and this and that. Listen, forget John Gotti, any boss. To become a boss, you have to be a lot of things, which he was. He was smart, he was sharp. He has to make decisions based on 500 men, not just one man. And where I'm going with that is when a boss sanctions a hit, he's putting another nail in his coffin. Would you agree with that, Anthony?
Yeah, sure. But the first we had to go get permission from my father. So, well, and we put it on record. There's a few reasons why we put it on record. Like there's a few reasons why Tony Lee wanted to put it on record. So for those people out there that don't understand the protocol of the mob, to commit a murder, you have to get permission from the boss. Otherwise, you could be murdered because homicides bring heat. So first, we had to get the okay from my father, which we did. I went up there to visit him, and I told him what happened, and he went along with us, and he agreed to what we wanted to do. Then we came back. Now, this is the part I was privy to that you weren't. We came back and Tony Lee sent for Jeannie Gotti and told Jeannie what happened. And he wanted to get permission from John for two reasons. He wanted to get permission from John for two reasons. The first reason was because he wanted it on record and he wanted it done the right way. And the second reason was he wanted the people that were going to be involved in the murder to get credit for it, because we were looking to get straightened out. We were looking to become made members of the family, and committing a murder fast forwards that to getting straightened out and almost guarantees that you're going to get straightened out. So that was the reason. So he wanted Dominic on record as the shooter because Skinny Dom was proposed and I was also proposed at the time. So there was two reasons why he wanted it sanctioned by John. So the part I was privy to was the answer that John sent back. The answer that John sent back was yes, to go ahead and do it. And the reason why we talked about it, John said yes, was for a few reasons. Number one is he liked my family. He was close to us, of course. He was close to my mother. He was close to my father, and he was close to Tony Lee. Number two is if he would have said no, we probably would have done it anyway. Then he would have to kill all of us. And I don't think he was willing to do that because he knew my father wasn't going to take no for an answer. He knew my father wasn't going to take no and sit back. And even though the boss is the boss is the boss, this is a personal thing. It's a family matter. So I don't think my father would have accepted a no. And I'm sure that was in the back of John's mind. Knowing my father as well as he knew my father, he knew that Fat Andy wasn't going to take well to hearing no. And he knew that we were capable of doing it anyway. So that was another factor. And I think another factor, and this is just my personal opinion, I never discussed it with John. You know, after he said yes, him and I never mentioned it to each other. You know, nobody ever even asked me that question up to this point, but none of us, him or I never spoke about it. He never mentioned it to me. I never mentioned it to him. Even Tony Lee and myself and him, when we were alone together, we never talked about it. And the third reason is, you know, word would have got out if he would have said no. You know, other guys would have, other family members, other Gambino guys, you know, wise guys all over in the Bronx and Brooklyn, they would have said, geez, you know, Fat Andy's wife got a beating and John, you know, said no, like, what's up with that? You know, like, what if it was my wife? I would, you know, so there was a few reasons why I think he said yes, but it would have happened regardless. And like, you know, we discussed earlier, then it would have been a bigger headache. So he said yes, and then we did it, you know.
Well, I'm going to give my opinion on that, and everything you said is, I agree with 100%.
Let me say one more thing before you do that. But it all comes back to my father, because at that point in time, if my father would have said no, it would have never went to John.
100%.
So John knew that my father already okayed it with us.
Well, so, you bring up an interesting point with your father okaying it. So like I said, you were at a different level than I was. Well, you know, we talk about when they put you on a murder, they got to trust you. Well, you got to trust your guy. I don't know if it's sanctioned, not sanctioned. Is it a suicide mission? You understand? So I'm only listening to your father and Tony. And to the point, if he said no, then we're not doing it. If they tell me do it, I don't know the rhymes or the reasons, nor am I supposed to. Like I said, you were at a different level. You were privy to that.
Right.
Here's my viewpoint on it. Why everything you said is true. I mean, there definitely was listen, he's a boss, and you know what? He treated all his men fairly, and everyone's equal, this and that. But it's like kids, you know what? You could have multiple kids. You'll never admit it, but there's always a favorite. So there was that type of thing with Andy and Tony Lee. As you know, I don't know how many people know that. I think through you, a lot of people are finding out about how much confidence John had in Tony Lee also. Mm-hmm. So where I'm going with that is I think it was a very smart Machiavellian move on John's part, because it comes down to numbers. Do I sanction 1 hit or 5 hits? Yeah, so right. When you look at it from that angle, mm-hmm. And here's the other thing too, John could have sanctioned it and gave it to someone else to do.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, like, I need this done, no problems. That's the faith he had in your father and Tony Lee, that it would be done, and it was. For 20 fucking years, no one ever fucking knew anything.
No, nobody knew nothing at all.
So you see the confidence he had in your father and Tony. It's not my opinion. That's just a fact. He could have gave that. John had many, many capable men, good men, correct?
Yeah. You know, we talked about it. It's funny because not really. So after it happened, and we went up to visit my father in Petersburg. He was in Petersburg, Virginia, and Lenny DiMaria was with him, another captain in the Gambino family. And we were all down on a visit. And Lenny knew about it from the beginning. After my initial visit with my father, because my father straightened Lenny out. My father proposed Lenny in the 70s. So now Lenny, fast forward, now is a skipper. And they were in Petersburg together. So my father told Lenny, when I left the visit, my father went out to the yard and he told Lenny what's happening. And Lenny told my father, "Do you just have to do something that drastic?" You know what I mean? Because he didn't kill my mother, like we discussed, and my father, being my father, who was kind of vicious, said, yeah, and then we had a visit after it happened. We had a visit, and we were all in the visiting room. Me and Nikki Carrazza was visiting Lenny and Tony Lee, and and we were discussing it a little bit, not really discussing it, but Lenny like made a off the cuff remark like, "Jesus, that was a kind of drastic thing you did." But they knew my father. They knew that's how my father was. My father was a gangster, you know what I mean? Like, and John knew that, so that, so there's a lot of reasons why that murder got sanctioned. Looking back, once my father said yes, it was going to happen regardless, because first of all, our lives were in danger. He was a dangerous kid. It wasn't like it was going to stop. We didn't do anything. It wasn't like that was going to be the last incident with this kid, because it went enough. So it was going to happen regardless. And John had to know that, but that's, like I said, that's just my opinion. I never discussed it with John, but Jeannie's words were, my brother said it. Okay. That was what he told us. When he came back to see us, he told Tony Lee, my brother said, it's okay. And that was it.
Well, you bring up another interesting point. So, listen to me. First of all, people romanticize about the mob and murders. There's a lot that goes into it. It's just that you just don't go kill people left and right. There's a lot of decisions being, you have to weigh, what is that murder? What's going to happen? Who's it going to affect? This and that. So it's really a very serious thing. I know people throw it around. It's a serious, serious thing. And as a boss to order it, like I said, he is now implemented himself in that murder conspiracy.
Of course.
And as far as your brother-in-law goes, I mean, you talk about, I don't think we covered enough. You just did it. I'm going to elaborate on it. Never mind what he did was bad and this and that. He was a bad, you got to listen to me. Got to be honest. He was a dangerous guy.
He was a killer.
We didn't kill a florist.
No, he was a killer. When the FBI came to me and told me after Peter Sakara, his partner, started cooperating, and Peter started giving up murders, he gave up murders that were my brother-in-law was involved in with him. And the FBI told me they never knew or realized how many murders my brother-in-law was actually in on or committed. Listen, I was raised by wise guys. I was raised by a wise guy from the day I was born. When I was born, my father had just got straightened out. So I was raised in that life, and when I got into the life on my own, when I was 16, my father started schooling me, and he always told me there was a right way and a wrong way to do everything. And even that even applied to murders. There was a right way and a wrong way. And he firmly believed that anybody that got clipped in that life deserved it because they knew the deal.